Gentleman from North Carolina, Mr. Moore, is now recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I would submit to my colleagues that natural disasters do not distinguish between Republicans and Democrats. In Western North Carolina, I will tell you, the communities are still recovering after the devastation of Hurricane Helene. The storm damaged tens of thousands of homes, it displaced families, left many communities facing a long and difficult rebuilding process. For many of those families, flood insurance was simply not an option. These were mountain communities, not in traditionally what you would think of in a flood area. And so as a result, the federal disaster recovery programs have become one of the few remaining pathways to rebuild. The CDBGR is often a primary source of assistance for these unmet recovery needs after FEMA assistance, SBA loans, and charitable resources have been exhausted. First off, Ms. McGarrett, thank you. Glad to have you here in Washington. By the way, you got to stay in North Carolina for the good barbecue, just saying. You can't find any good barbecue in Washington, so crab cakes are great, though. That's true. But no barbecue here. North Carolina has administered the CDBGR DR funding following multiple major disasters, as you know, that we've had. How has our state's experience administering those grants after Hurricane Helene differed from the experience, say, with Hurricanes Matthew and Florence, of course, which we know where those areas are. My colleagues don't. Those were on the coast. Helene was in the mountains. What's been the difference administering those?
We have had a quicker turnaround in terms of getting our funds. It was around 3.5 months for our allocation from HUD after Helene, and I think we waited 1.5 years after Florence and Matthew.
Okay. And so the major sources delay, like if there's any HUD requirements or action plan approvals, duplication of benefit reviews, et cetera, local capacity constraints, or anything else, what would you say, I guess, has been the most challenging for North Carolina this time?
I think the length of the process for the action plan, that's challenging. The environmental reviews have been very time consuming. I actually spoke with Samaritan's Purse, as you know, is a major nonprofit, and they're headquartered in Boone, North Carolina. And they said the areas where they can save time, they get their money a lot faster. They don't have to go through the lengthy procurements that we have to go through. Their environmental processes are more streamlined, and they don't have all the requirements we have. Obviously, some of the requirements we need to have in place, but I think there are ways to streamline those and save time for our survivors.
Yeah, I believe GAO and HUD's Inspector Generals have, they've repeatedly identified some challenges involving data sharing, duplication of benefits, and improper payments. And we know, unfortunately, those things have happened. But your testimony does raise some of the issues that are just out there. I actually have a bill that would require HUD to enter into a formal MOU with FEMA and the SBA to improve disaster recovery data and information sharing. Do you think if we had greater coordination among these agencies and improving transparency, that would strengthen accountability within the CDBGR DR program?
I do. I think data sharing is important, and it certainly took us several months to get those in place, so that coordination would help.
And just in light of where you are now, how would you describe the response now with Grow NC versus what we had before with what's called NCORE in terms of meeting, particularly on the housing side?
I think we've made improvements in North Carolina that were much needed.
Very good. Let me switch to Ms. LaGrone just a moment as well. Do you think that greater transparency into HUD's allocation methodology would provide states with more certainty as they plan recovery efforts?
Yes, sir.
Would this reporting requirement help Congress, in fact, conduct more effective oversight and make better informed decisions when authorizing and funding future disaster recovery programs?
I think y'all would know where the money was going much better.
I think so. The president has repeatedly emphasized that states should lead disaster recovery efforts. And a lot of that principle recognizes a reality, and that is that state and local officials are closer to the challenges facing communities than folks in Washington, D.C. And I can, I was on the plane with the president when he came to Western North Carolina. It's something that I will never forget, that in the same week that President Trump, Mr. Chairman, that he was sworn into office at the inauguration, the first trip he took outside of Washington, D.C. was to Western North Carolina, where he came there and told our folks, the folks I represent and others, that they would not be forgotten. And I can tell you that what I've seen from this administration, from this president, is an absolute commitment to getting relief to Western North Carolina. We've got a lot of challenges, a lot of unique challenges, because you think of hurricanes, you think of a coast. The water comes up, the water goes down. In the mountains, it doesn't work that way. And so it has posed a lot of challenges. Ms. McGarry, I appreciate the work you've been doing there at the state and what what NC Grow is doing, and appreciate that. And glad to hear from you today. With that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Gentlemen,